Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Hi, Reddit. I'm 19F, and I never imagined I'd be posting something like this. I've been sitting on this for months, debating whether it's worth sharing, but after another condescending email from the man who used to call himself my dad, I think it's time to put this out there. I'm still not sure how to process all of it, and while I know what my gut tells me, there's a small voice that keeps asking whether I'm the asshole for cutting him out so completely. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's trauma, maybe it's just the echo of 7 years of being told I was his daughter too. Here's the full story. My biological dad passed away when I was 8. It was sudden, a heart attack in the middle of a normal Tuesday morning. One moment I was watching cartoons, the next my world completely collapsed. My mom, now 42 female, was shattered. I don't remember much from those early grief years, except that we clung to each other like shipwreck survivors. It was just the two of us for a while. Then, when I was 12, she met Mike, now 45 male. He was charming, successful, had a son a few years younger than me. He was 9 at the time, and acted like he wanted a family. He'd bring flowers for my mom, made dad jokes that made me roll my eyes in the way preteens do, and made a big point to say how he didn't see blood, and that I was already his daughter in his heart. When they got married, he insisted on legally adopting me. He said he wanted to make our family official. At the time, it felt beautiful, like we were healing, moving forward, and creating new family together. I was still grieving my dad, but I wanted to believe Mike could be a second chance at that kind of love. I let him walk me into my first father-daughter school dance. I started calling him Dad. I believed all of it. When I was 13, my mom and Mike sat me down and told me they had a college fund for me. My mom had started it after my birth, contributing every month, even when times were tough. After marrying Mike, he started contributing too. They told me it wasn't massive, but enough to get me through a solid 4-year university with minimal loans. It was one of the only long-term plans I had. I kept my grades up, did extracurriculars, volunteered. It was the anchor that kept me focused through high school. I wasn't aiming for Ivy League or anything. I had my eye on a mid-tier state school with a great psych program. I wanted to become a child psychologist. I even found scholarships I could apply to, hoping to stretch the fund as far as possible. Things were going well. My stepbrother Jake, 16 male now, was into sports, soccer mostly. He had dreams of going pro, which we all supported. Mike was especially involved, coaching his club team, driving him to tournaments, even hiring a private trainer when Jake turned 14. It didn't bother me. I figured, different goals, different needs. That is, until it did bother me, because everything changed 2 months before my high school graduation. It started when I tried to schedule a meeting with a financial aid counselor. I asked my mom for the account information so I could submit it for FAFSA, and she said she'd email it. A week passed, then another. She kept dodging. One night I came home from work and found her sitting at the kitchen table, pale and shaking. She told me we needed to talk. That was when she told me the college fund, my college fund, was empty, gone, every last dollar. I didn't understand. I thought maybe the market crashed or it was some error. But no. She found out that Mike had withdrawn the entire account balance 4 months earlier without telling her or me. He didn't touch his own account, just the one with my name on it. She hadn't noticed until I asked her to look into it for college paperwork. Where did the money go? To pay for Jake's tuition at a private European sports academy. Not even an accredited high school. Some kind of elite soccer boarding school that costs more than most universities. When my mom confronted him, he didn't deny it. He didn't even apologize. He said, and I quote, "She'll figure it out. Jake needs it more. He has a bright future. She can get a job." My mom. God, I love her. She was furious. I've never seen her like that. She immediately met with a divorce attorney, moved some money into a separate account, and kicked him out of the house within a week. The betrayal cut her deeper than I've ever seen. She filed for divorce and pressed charges for fraud, although it's still stuck in legal hell and being investigated. Mike had forged her digital signature on the withdrawal forms. He literally broke the law. But of course, it takes forever for anything to happen. She apologized to me over and over, said she felt like she failed me. I tried to reassure her that she didn't. She trusted someone who promised to love us both, and he betrayed us both. I didn't go to the university I dreamed of. That died the day Mike emptied that account. Instead, I enrolled in a local community college. I'm taking classes while working 2 jobs, waitressing in the evenings and doing clerical work on weekends. I'm paying out of pocket, sometimes eating only ramen and canned soup just to make sure I have gas to get to class. Mike hasn't said a word to me directly since he was kicked out. No apology, no explanation. But he sent emails, lots of them, condescending, guilt-tripping, manipulative garbage. You've really disappointed me. You don't understand how hard it is to raise 2 kids and give them both what they need. Your attitude is exactly why I stopped seeing you as my daughter. You broke this family. You should have supported Jake's dream like I supported yours. Every time I see his name in my inbox, my stomach churns. I've blocked him now, but sometimes I just sit and wonder, was I really nothing to him all along? People in my extended family are starting to chime in. A few aunts and uncles, his side, are saying that I should let it go, that Jake is just a kid chasing his dream, and that it's not worth ruining the family over money. Even Jake texted me once asking why I was being so cold and making his dad out to be evil. I didn't respond. But then I started wondering, was I wrong to cut Mike off so completely? I've blocked his number. I don't even refer to him as my dad anymore. Just Mike. Some have said I'm being harsh, that he did raise me for 7 years, and that one mistake shouldn't erase all the good memories. But how am I supposed to trust a man who could look me in the face, call me his daughter, and then take away the future he promised me? So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for cutting off the man who legally adopted me and became my father, after I found out he stole my college fund to send his biological son to a sports academy? Edit, for clarity. The account was in my mom's name, earmarked for me. She never gave him authorization to drain it. The sports academy Jake went to is not affiliated with a high school or college. It's like a pre-pro boarding program in Spain. Very expensive, not accredited. Jake is not responsible for what happened. I haven't taken it out on him, but I also can't be close to him right now. He represents too much pain. The adoption was official. Mike is still legally on my birth certificate as my parent. Absolutely not the a-hole. I can't even begin to explain how enraged I am on OP's behalf. That man didn't just steal money. He stole OP's future, her security, her trust. And the fact that he had the gall to say, "You'll figure it out," like OP was just some afterthought. Disgusting. He didn't see OP as his daughter. He saw OP as a liability once he had a real child to prioritize. That's not one mistake. That's a calculated betrayal. The worst part is, he weaponized OP's love and trust to do it. Blocking him is the healthiest decision OP could have made. OP should not let anyone guilt her into letting that toxic man back in her life. OP didn't break the family. He did. And now let's hear community's opinion. You're not the a-hole, but Mike is the poster child for manipulative narcissism. Seriously, he made you believe you were his child, made your mom believe he was committed to your future, and then drained your entire college fund for his son's sports camp while telling himself it was justified. Then he guilt-tripped you when the truth came out? That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. The emails he's sending you aren't about reconciliation. They're about control. He wants to rewrite the story so you feel guilty and crawl back. Don't. You're not the villain here. You're the survivor. And honestly, I hope your mom's fraud case buries him. I'm a family attorney, and what your stepfather did is absolutely reprehensible and illegal. If your mom never gave him power of attorney or signed off on the withdrawals, he committed fraud. The legal wheels turn slowly, but don't lose hope. And as for the emotional side of this, look, adoption doesn't mean anything if it's not backed by action. He chose to adopt you, to become your father in name and law, and then when it was time to support your future, he bailed. Actions speak louder than DNA. You have every right to cut him out, protect your peace, and move forward. You're not the a-hole, and you deserve better. OP, as someone also going through community college and paying my way because of parental betrayal. I see you, I feel you, and I am so sorry this happened. Not the a-hole in the slightest. You didn't just lose money. You lost a parent, a sense of safety, a belief in fairness. The betrayal runs deep. People who say let it go don't understand what it's like to have your dreams yanked out from under you by the one person who was supposed to protect them. They minimize it because they don't want to face how awful it really is. You're doing everything right. You're surviving, working, pushing forward. Don't let him gaslight you into thinking you're cold or bitter. You're just someone who set boundaries after being deeply wounded. Stay strong. So, my mom was a severe alcoholic my entire life. My dad wasn't really in the picture, and I was primarily raised by my grandparents. But I've lived with my mom for the past 9 years. She went to rehab and got sober a few months before I, female 19, moved away to college across the country. We were finally starting to get close again for the first time ever, when a month after she's out of rehab, she tells me she's pregnant with another baby. My stepdad is a great guy, but I was still upset at the news. He has another 7-year-old kid with my mom, who I love. I told them I felt hurt, and their response was pretty much, "She's sober now, get over it." Anyway, I moved to college and was feeling pretty resentful. So Christmas is coming up after my first semester in college, and a few weeks before I'm supposed to fly out, they revealed to me that they gave my room to my little brother, painted it, and moved all my things to a storage unit. I was really upset that they didn't consult with me. Then they told me I could stay in the guest room, and the moment my flight lands, my mom tells me that my stepdad's parents are actually staying in the guest room, so I would have to sleep on the couch in the living room. Luckily, my girlfriend is from the same city as me, and I can stay with her, but I can't tell if I'm being unreasonably upset. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It makes sense that they need to make room for a new baby, but doing so without even telling you is pretty mean. But now there's no room for you at all. The comfort of babies and grandparents kind of takes precedence over people who are young adults and no longer live at home full-time. But this is pretty crappy. I expect you would feel not so resentful if they had explained this to you ahead of time and asked what you would like to have happen with your things, rather than just transferring everything to a storage unit. So you're the a-hole, but not about what you think you are. It's fine of you to refuse to stay in a crowded home with an aggressive alcoholic mother, regardless of her remission. What makes you the a-hole here is being jealous of a little baby. Get over it. Your parents are adults. Let them deal with it. Practically speaking, they won't be day-to-day important in your life going forward anyway. Not the a-hole. I mean, cramped quarters during the holidays are something to bear and gripe about, but not something to be super upset about. The issue here is that being displaced to the couch, and without warning, is so emblematic of everything else that your mother has put you through throughout your childhood and not adequately addressed. You aren't angry at the dirt, you are angry at her. For some background information, my stepdaughter does not like going to school. She has multiple accounts of faking being sick and is really outrageous sometimes. Last week, the school nurse called my wife, 47 female, saying that my stepdaughter was in the office, sick, and she needed to go pick her up. My wife called me and asked me if I could go pick her up because my work is closer to the school and my wife wasn't able to leave. I got to the school and my stepdaughter was holding her stomach in pain and on the verge of tears. I had seen her like this before while she was faking, so I didn't think anything of it. We got in the car and she asked if we could go to the doctor. I said that she should stay home and get some rest because I didn't want to take her to the doctor if she wasn't sick. We went on with our day, and at about 2 a.m. that morning, we woke up to her screaming in pain. My wife and I ran into her room to see her on the bedroom floor, collapsed and holding her stomach. When we finally got her to speak up, she told us she had sharp stomach pains. Jokingly trying to calm her down, I said something along the lines of, "Guess it's someone's time of the month." My stepdaughter continued to sob as she yelled at me to call 911. My wife comforted my stepdaughter in her arms as she told me we should bring her in. In my mind, I thought that my stepdaughter was having some sort of cramps that would be resolved in the morning, so I told my wife that maybe we shouldn't, and we should just wait it out. Maybe she needed to go to the bathroom, or maybe she had her period cramps. After minutes and minutes of contemplating, my wife got up and practically carried my stepdaughter to the car so she could drive her to the hospital. I stayed home with our dogs, texting my wife for updates, but I was ignored. Cut to later that morning. My wife texts me and tells me my daughter had her appendix burst and just got out of surgery. She yelled at me, telling me her daughter almost died because of my negligence and not taking her to the doctor or hospital when she asked. My wife claims I owe my stepdaughter an apology, but I don't see how I would when she fakes things like this happening all of the time. My wife is aware that my stepdaughter tends to fake a variety of illnesses in order to not attend school. I do understand my stepdaughter was hurt, but if she would have told me the severity of the pains, I would have taken her to the hospital in the first place. So, am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. She damn near died. If she told me the severity of her pains, you mean like when you laughed and suggested it was menstrual as she was on the bathroom floor? Fakers don't ask to go to doctors, because doctors see right through it. Also, what language should she have used? It really hurts is not enough? Dear stepfather, it's a 7 on a scale of 10 based on the standard pain scale. I would describe it as a steak knife. No, wait, a paring knife, slicing through my innards. Also, you're the a-hole because you're also not apparently dealing with why she doesn't want to go to school. Is someone picking on her? A teacher that's ungodly awful? Or do you not care about that either? You're the a-hole. If your daughter was faking to skip school, why would she want the doctor? It would have been better to bring her faking into the doctor, as he would have exposed her. So if you brought her, she would have got exposed or been treated. No reason not to bring her. This has to be fake, right? No one would be this big an a-hole and not know it. You're the a-hole for ignoring her request to go to the doctor. You're the a-hole for trivializing her pain. You're the a-hole for trivializing menstrual pain in general. You're the a-hole for not calling 911. You're the a-hole for thinking she should just wait it out. You're the a-hole for not helping her to the car. You're the a-hole for not making other arrangements for the dogs and going to the hospital to comfort your wife and stepdaughter. You're the a-hole for texting rather than calling. You're the a-hole for lacking the minuscule amount of empathy and self-reflection it would require to recognize any of these things as complete a-hole moves. I, 29 female, have 2 daughters, and I'm currently expecting a son with my husband Max, 30 male. My stepsister, Allie, 33 female, was married to Rob, 30 male, who through the years has become good friends with Max. Allie and Rob named their first son after Max. Not the same name, Maxwell. And we always said we would return the favor. Allie and Rob went through a nasty divorce about 3 years after she discovered he was having an affair. After, I stopped hanging out with Rob as much, but Max and Rob are still very close. Which brings us to today. Max's brother, as a Christmas gift, is making wood art of our son's name. We decided to publicly announce his name since everyone is going to know soon. We decided to go ahead with the variation of Rob's name. We did a name reveal on Facebook and immediately began to get comments. My stepmom and Allie began to blow up my phone, telling me I can't name my baby the chosen name because I'm throwing Rob in her face and disrespecting her. I pointed out that Allie and Rob share kids, so he's in her life forever. At this point, we feel that the name is our son's name because it has basically been his name in our mind the whole time. Allie is not speaking to me at this time, and I'm feeling awkward about going to my parents' house for Christmas. Don't want to argue in front of the kids. My husband and I feel like Allie is being overly sensitive because she is still hurt. I need a neutral opinion on whether we're being a-holes. You're the a-hole, and it's gross you'd even want to celebrate the name of a person who betrayed your sister or attach your child to that person. Your sister being attached to him via kids couldn't be less irrelevant. You're the a-hole. Assuming the relationship with your stepsister and stepmom is long-standing and good, how do you put this cheater ahead of them? I am a bonus mom, and my husband is a bonus dad, and I can honestly say that these relationships are valued as much as bio ones. How dare you put a beautiful angel in the middle of a cheating divorce? He has nothing to do with this, and yet he'll be forever branded. No doubt you're the a-hole. Allie found out Rob was cheating on her, and that was the reason of their divorce. That is always going to cause her pain. So why do you believe it'd be a good idea to name your son after a man who cheated on his wife and broke up their home? Why would you and Max want to bring discomfort and pain over the sake of a name? If you continue on to name him after her cheating ex-husband, then everyone has a few loose screws. Give him a name which will bring everyone happiness, so he will always be in her life. I'm sure she'd gladly like him out of it, but must accept dealing with him because they share children. Both you and your husband are being incredibly selfish and insensitive. There are many nice names out there. Pick one of those and stop tormenting her. I'm a 17-year-old Canadian living in the U.S. I moved here about 5 years ago when my mom and dad got a divorce after cheating allegations came out. I've been trying to live here the past 5 years with my dad and stepmom. Life has been tough without my mom. Anyways, this summer I took a trip to Toronto on my own to go see my sister, who I hadn't seen in many years due to family drama. My sister is not a fan of my dad. After reconnecting, we spent days on end discussing my dad, who frequently prioritized his needs over his children. My sister revealed what happened between my stepmom, mom, and dad, where apparently my mom found emails between my dad and stepmom, which confirmed her suspicions. My mom ended up finding the workplace of my stepmom and exposed to them what she had been doing with my father. My stepmom countered with a cease and desist letter, and the exposition stopped. After hearing this story, I couldn't help but feel bad for my mom. There were days where I would come back from school to see her cry all day, while my dad was in the U.S., and I wouldn't understand as she wouldn't reveal to me. 5 years later, and I mentioned it to my stepmom. I did not insult her, nor attack her in any way. I simply asked her if it was true. She replied that indeed it was, and we didn't speak further on it. A few months later, my stepmom confronts me about it. She says it's absolutely unacceptable that me and my stepsister discussed about this as it concerns her. I replied saying that I think I had the right to know this, as I was a victim of the affair at home. My mom is Burmese, and her childhood was pretty rough. She could get tough on me as well. She said it's ridiculous that I know, and she said she could have destroyed my mom in court if she so wished. At this point, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I explained to her what a homewrecker was, and she stated my generation was ducked up for creating such a term. I told her I don't get why this is even such a big deal, as I never held it against her even though I very much had the right to. The discussion ended, and that was that. Every now and then, though, my stepmom has these bits of complete cold-heartedness towards me, and suffice to say, I cannot wait to move out. Not the a-hole. First of all, your generation did not create the term homewrecker. That crap has been around forever. But no, you're not the a-hole in this situation. You have every right to understand the situation that led you to where you are now. It was your home life and parents that were affected. She's being petty. Not the a-hole. Homewrecker is entirely appropriate. Your stepmom knowingly had an affair with a married man and knew, or at least should have known, how that would impact his kids. You. She didn't care then, and she doesn't care now. Not the a-hole. Your stepmom seems like she needs to control the narrative of what has happened. But the story is simple. Her and your dad's affair ended a marriage with children involved. None of this is your fault or your responsibility. It's sad that your stepmom, who is a grown adult, is being so unreasonable about this. She made her choices and they impacted you, but so did your dad. It's common for a woman to be called a homewrecker, but your dad is the true homewrecker. He is the one that had a wife and children to begin with. You haven't done anything wrong. I used to be good friends with this girl. Let's call her Nancy, in high school. Life happened. We drifted apart, so I was somewhat surprised when I got a wedding invite about 5 months ago. Since we have a large number of friends in common, and I've moved abroad and hadn't seen them in a while, I decided to go. It was a bit tense on the day of, as lots of girls in the bridal party were annoyed with the many requirements to be included. No unnatural hair colors, non-nude nails, plus ones had to be approved by bride. As a result, the bridal party was half of its original size. Still included was Nancy's cousin, who is my best friend, Sarah. Everything went well until, at the reception, one of the groomsmen proposed a toast, and Sarah gave me a glass of champagne, which I quietly declined. She understood what this meant and was aware I've unfortunately had a few miscarriages in the first trimester. As a result, got very excited and was congratulating me, albeit quite loudly. A few girls around heard, and like dominoes, everyone got excited and started congratulating me and significant other. I was already mortified, but stuff really hit the fan when Nancy showed up, eyes full of tears, asking both me and Sarah to leave, in front of everyone, as we were ruining her day and not abiding by her rules. Apparently, another one of the rules agreed to by the bridal party to adhere and make sure happened was that no major announcements were to be made, i.e. engagements, pregnancies, divorces, coming out, whatever you can and cannot think of. Initially, I got very angry, but now I'm feeling a bit bad. I didn't think of this as my wedding, but I probably would not have appreciated someone stealing my thunder. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You didn't make an announcement. This was not your fault. Sounds like Nancy would have been annoyed if someone had a heart attack at her wedding. These sorts of egregious rules for guests are just an excuse to blow up at someone. Not the a-hole. But next time, to be discreet, I would have just said I can't mix alcohol with my medicine. It doesn't get people excited over a baby, and it won't leave people wondering if you're an alcoholic. Edit. One shouldn't need an excuse to reject alcohol, but unfortunately, people get really pushy or offended if you don't have a reason. That's just the world we live in, and if a little white lie prevents drama, good. Not the a-hole. You didn't announce anything. You quietly refused an alcoholic drink. Sarah should have known better. She was part of the bridal party and therefore intimately acquainted with Nancy's bridezilla tendencies. I can understand her getting excited in the moment, but she twittered loudly about a private matter you had not chosen to make public. As is so often the case, people overheard and jumped in, thus mortifying you in public. The least Sarah could have done is very quietly ask you, "Here's where I may be an a-hole. I can't comprehend the narcissism of brides who insist they are the sole focus of their day, to the point that everyone else's lives must be suppressed lest it cloud their spotlight. Yes, it's a celebration of their, not just her, marriage, but it's also a social gathering where people talk to each other, and she's trying to police the conversation. I doubt Nancy realizes it, but her actions of throwing a tantrum and dramatically kicking out a pregnant friend will have caused some to judge her negatively. I would, so I think she's a self-absorbed a-hole as well.